What's up, my dudes? We got us some Waypoint Enduro trail racing on MX versus ATV Untamed. I just had to come in here and make a video on this because I was actually live streaming some of this a couple months back just for fun, and I never realized, right? It's funny now when you go back after all these milestone games that have come out and you come back to some of these older MX versus ATV games and you actually start to realize how much different racing content, oh my God, let me just get jacked real quick. You start to realize how much different kind of racing content that there really was back in all these older MX versus ATV games, even in Reflex to a certain extent, right? Reflex even had a Waypoint Trail series, a Omnicross series, this game had all of that, and an Enduro Cross series, all a Supermoto freaking racing series. Like, it's just insane when you think about that. And then you go to one of these newer milestone games, and it's the 16 rounds of that particular Supercross year and one freeride track on it. And that's it. That's all there is to the whole game. Obviously, with some of their newer Supercross games, they've gotten into where they'll give you one motocross track that's kind of just thrown in there with that, that certain freeride track or whatever. But as you can see right here, even though you just have a standard Waypoint series in one of these games that is just kind of a random waypoint track within one of the freeride tracks. See, that's what I think is one of the biggest problems with a lot of these milestone games content. They started putting in the Waypoint series stuff in one of the MXGP games, and the problem with that, they even made it to where you can make your own custom waypoint tracks. But the whole problem with that is if you don't have more than one freeride track in your AAA game, that shit gets boring real quick. Whole squad on that real shit. You have got to have more than one freeride track. And still to this day, Milestone has still just not gotten that in their games. Even with Supercross 4 that's coming out, from what I'm seeing on their website, there is still no information to show me that there's going to be any more than that one singular, main island freeride track on it. So, even if you have a waypoint, mode in your game, if you only have one freeride track, it feels like you don't even really have a waypoint series. You know what I'm saying? And that's the same way, like, if you go back to Reflex, it had 3 completely different, crazy, biomed, freeride tracks to the point to where all the different waypoint series, going between those 3 different freeride tracks, it felt like an actual different kind of series in the game, more like an actual Enduro trail series in the game. And I feel like that's what's made a lot of these milestone games kind of miss out on that, is the fact that you just don't have enough freeride tracks. You just don't have enough freeride content to really make it feel like that totally separate, kind of actual Enduro series content in the game. So I think it is critical at this point. It is like, you have got to start doing this, Milestone. You have got to start putting in more than one freeride track in your AAA dirt bike game. That's just standard. Oh, and by the way, just to, let you guys know, they didn't even give you a freeride track in the first Supercross game at all when it first came out. It didn't even have one at all in it, period. That game that everybody praises and thinks was so amazing and got so hyped up about? Could you imagine this? A AAA $60 dirt bike game coming out and having no freeride track in it at all. At all. Literally none. It didn't have not a single one in it. And then they came out with a paid DLC freeride track later on in the life cycle of the first Supercross game, and that's where you got your that's how you got that one freeride, deserty freeride track that everybody knows that was in the first Supercross game. That wasn't just in the game from the jump, dog. You had to pay for that. It's paid DLC later. It's just beyond me that that a AAA gaming company could even get away with that. That is like such a giant chunk. That would be like a new Call of Duty game coming out, and it just has no multiplayer, or it just has no team deathmatch in it at all, or it just, some like big critical, or it only has 5 maps total in the whole game or something. Like, I don't really know how to make a proper comparison to that, but dogs, like free ride track content. I don't care what kind of dirt bike game it's in. I don't care if it's a lot of you guys try to make this excuse of like, well, it's a Supercross game. It's not supposed to have motocross tracks in it. It's not supposed to have blah, blah, blah. Let's make some more excuses for Milestone, right? It's like, dude, all that's going to do, no matter what kind of game it's in, all that adding more track content is going to do is make the game better. I don't care what it is. And they've already proven that they can put a free ride track and a motocross track in an official Supercross game. They have now proven that with Supercross 3. They have now proven that they can put like random other training Supercross tracks that are not the actual, the in-stadium replica tracks. They can also put that in a official Supercross game. So they've proven everything that I've been saying from the very beginning, as far as, even though it's an official Supercross game or an official MXGP game, it can have the standard kind of track content and different kind of racing modes and series that you would expect in any other AAA dirt bike game ever in the history of dirt bike games. Like, it can have that. It's supposed to have that. And that's kind of the thing. Like, if you want to have, a lot of people are wanting them to have like a true Enduro series or whatever, and they can do that. They just got to have more free ride tracks within one individual Milestone game, right? And once you do that, once you have at least like 3 different free ride tracks, then it gets like this in MX vs. ATV Untamed, where you can have just these cool, waypoint racing tracks where it's just randomly kind of running you through different areas of these different free ride tracks, but yet it gives you that feeling like it's an actual trail series in the game, or some kind of, enduro racing series in the game, even though it's not technically that, right? It's technically more of like a almost like a Baja, Dakar, whatever you want to call it, right? It's kind of more like that when you really think of it, more than like a legitimate, super hardcore hair scramble enduro. You know what I mean? So, but I'm just saying, like, that's better than just having one free ride track with a waypoint series, within that one free ride track. Like, and I hope this goes to prove that, like, with all these different free ride tracks on Untamed and Reflex and all this stuff, that's what gives you that other kind of track content, even though it's not necessarily exactly a enduro series in the game, even though it's still just a standard waypoint series. You can see the difference it makes when you go from having just one free ride track, like what you would have in some of these MXGP games, to some of these MX versus ATV games that have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different free ride tracks in them, right? Like, there's just, man, it's just to that point where Milestone is just going to have to start doing that, period. Like, they are going to have to start getting more than just one free ride track in their games. I mean, that is just such a big aspect, dude. It really is. Like, to giving you that little bit of extra something to do, when you get a little bit tired of riding in those same old stadium Supercross tracks over and over and over, those same old MXGP rehashed from every single other MXGP game replica tracks over and over and over. That's what gives you that longevity to the gameplay. That's part of the reason why games like Reflex and Unleashed and Untamed and all that kind of shit, that's why they've lasted so long and they're still so much fun to go back and play. It's because of all of the different kind of track content in the games and all the different kind of series and racing, the hill climb shit and Unleashed, and like, there's just so many. Look at this. Okay, so let me explain to you what was in the first Supercross game. When you went to the menu to actually pick what you want, what kind of racing you want to do in the game. So the first Supercross game had this. And that was it. Before the paid DLC, for one singular paid DLC free ride track came out, it had this. And that was it. one Supercross series like this. Granted, it had a couple more Supercross tracks than this, but you get my point. Like, that's all there was in the whole game. And look at the difference. You've got freeride, national, Supercross, freestyle, mini moto, waypoint, enduro cross, supermoto, open cross. It's like, good God, where has AAA motocross game content gone? Track content gone? Racing mode content gone? I have no idea, but it is not even close to what it used to be. It's not even close. It's just insane when you actually realize the difference in that. It's unbelievable. So either way, I just wanted to come in here and kind of ride on a couple of these tracks because they're really cool in this game. Because a lot of these areas you can actually kind of cut through different parts of the track and, actually cut quite a bit of time off, going over a certain jump. There's actually, even though it is a standard waypoint series, they really did a good job in this game, I've noticed, where there's a lot of areas where you can kind of pick a different route, so to speak. You can kind of go like over the hill instead of around the hill, and it may not necessarily be faster. It may be faster, even though it is just a standard waypoint series, they've done it in a way to where it really does create some different line options and different kind of paths and different ways you can go through these different enduro tracks and stuff in the game, and I find that to be really cool and gives you some more replayability and gameplay and stuff like that. But this shit kind of reminds me of some like really old like PlayStation 1 and 2 motocross games and shit where you just like, I don't know, man. There's just that cool where it's kind of like not necessarily a motocross track, not necessarily a supercross track, It's kind of that like free ride enduro waypoint. I just feel like that is such a core critical aspect to any AAA dirt bike game. I don't care what kind of dirt bike game it is. I really don't care. It's just so... Those are the three main content chunks, man. It goes from Supercross to motocross to freeride. That is your three main content blocks to a dirt bike game, a AAA dirt bike game. And if you don't have either one of those, any of those three things, if you only have one or you only have two of those three things, your AAA motocross game is going to feel like it's missing something, right? Or if you only have one freeride track, it's going to feel like it's missing something. Or if you only have one motocross track, it's going to feel like it's just missing something content-wise. And I just, at this point, you would just imagine with how Milestone reuses different objects and shit like that over and over from game after game after game. You would just imagine in the reuse gear and things like that they've done, especially with the MXGP games, good Lord Almighty. You would just imagine they would be able to dedicate a little more time into more freeride content, more waypoint enduro trail racing content. Like, that's what keeps the game fun, man. That's what keeps you from getting so burnt out on riding on the same shit over and over and over, year after year after year. You've got to have that other kind of track content in there. It makes all the difference in the world, boys. I'm just telling you. But either way, this track's pretty cool right here as well. Kind of got that full-blown... That was just another thing I noticed about some of these. See right here? See how that dude went all the way around the road? Well, you can kind of cut through right here, right? So it's kind of a multiple line option, and every single one of these waypoint tracks in this game are like that. There's a couple of places where you can kind of take different routes. You can either hit the jump or go all the way around the long way, but you're on like a road, so it's technically faster, but you're having to, kind of take more distance. So there's just all kinds of cool shit like this on these older games, and it's something that I just think would really help the replayability to the Milestone games. I've been saying it forever, but I really do believe that. And I'm not saying it just to knock Milestone. I'm saying it because I truly believe it would help their games. Like, I really do. I feel like that's one of the biggest things that, like makes me kind of get tired of a milestone game is I'll go in there and I'll ride on all the tracks in the main whatever series it is, MXGP or official Supercross or whatever, and then it's like my brain wants to, you know, go over here and test the physics on a motocross track, and it wants to go over here and throw some big whips on a freeride track or whatever, right? And it just adds so much replayability to a game when you have like very drastically different biome freeride tracks on top of that, you know, instead of just having one standard woodland freeride track like you've had in a plethora of these different milestone games. It'll be like the most standard woodland you could ever imagine. What game was that? Was that, I can't remember if it was Supercross. Oh my God, Cacti. Can't remember if it was, I'm trying to go to all these tracks here just to kind of show them off. Can't remember if it was Supercross 2 or MXGP 2019. Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of. Man, they've had some piss poor freeride tracks. I mean, they really have over the years. There's been a couple of okay ones on the milestone games, but for the most part, it has been very, very just bland, standard, middle of the road, you know, like just nothing really to it. And even right here, you know, there's only technically 5 different waypoint tracks here, but every single one of them is on a completely different freeride track. So it feels like a completely different experience. And that's what makes it feel like its own Enduro trail series or whatever you want to call it, right? That's what makes it feel more like that versus just a silly little waypoint on one freeride track, right? So I just want to make this video kind of in light of, I just really believe if Milestone will finally come out with another MXGP or Supercross game that has at least 3 different freeride tracks, you know, like one standard woodland one tropical one, and then one snowy one, or like one desert one or something cool, or one crazy one that's like freeride on the moon or something, some cool different shit like that. I just feel like if they ever finally did that in one of their games, it would just, I don't know, it'd give it a whole nother level of a feeling, you know. And if they still had their custom waypoint editor inside of that, on top of that, to where when you went to go make a custom waypoint track, you could build it in all 3 of those different biomes, and even their standard track editor. You know, they kind of did that a little bit with MXGP 2019, I think it was. You know, you had like 2 or 3 different areas to build your custom track. Even though the track editor was pretty piss poor, at least you had different areas to build it in. I think they need to keep on that sort of vibe. You know, they need to, even in the Supercross games, like I feel like you should be able to make your custom Supercross track outside on whatever kind of biomed freeride track you have. Like, just build your Supercross track in some flat area on the freeride track biome, so you can have like a cool custom outdoor snow Supercross track in your Supercross game, plus being able to use the track editor inside of the different, like, you know, standard stadiums in the game. I'm trying to take a swim real quick, boys. That would be so cool. But you know, I feel like I'm really not asking for that much. You know, I'm not sitting here saying, oh my God, they need that, and then they need, you know, they need like 50cc racing series, and then they need Omnicross with big vehicles. Like, I'm not saying make it into this gargantuan content, super insane monster trucks and airplanes and golf carts and MX versus ATV level shit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the standard, what you expect. I need some more top speed on this bike, bro. I'm straight up getting outran right now by Tedesco. Let's get a little hot saucy in here, boys. But, yeah, I mean, look at this right here. Multiple lines. You can kind of pick your own route that you want to take. Oh, my God almighty. That was a big jump. That was a big jump. Felt like Pastrana when he overjumped the fence and broke his legs. That was kind of sick. Okay. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me personally, with how much utilization you can get out of different free ride, you know, it's not just a free ride track when you put a free ride track in a game, right? When you put one in a game, it turns into a free ride track, a potentially freestyle track, a waypoint track, a hill climb track series thing, a, you know, like mini game area place that you can do shit on. You know, it turns into a lot more content than just free riding on the free ride track. You know, oh, I'm a tree jumper, boys. I'm a tree jumper. So either way, we'll see what happens with Supercross 4's track content. And by the way, I will be making some videos on MXGP 2020. I apologize for not getting to that sooner. I will be getting to that pronto ASAP, Rocky ASAP, Big Dog, Big Daddy, New Balance Daddy, vibing status. We'll be getting to that soon. But, yep, so looks like we're still only getting one free ride track in Supercross 4. And there's apparently like 5 extra tracks included in that. I'm not really sure what that means exactly. If it's like 5 outdoors like training Supercross tracks, or if it's like 2 outdoor motocross tracks and 3 training Supercross tracks or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but we're definitely not getting like multiple free ride tracks with Supercross 4 or anything like that. I don't see any kind of true Enduro series or anything. And they'll probably have the waypoint mode. Do they even have the waypoint mode on the Supercross games, or is that like MXGP only? That may actually be an MXGP only thing. I'm not sure. They need to have it in Supercross if it's not, but either way. So, ooh, look at that. You gotta love hitting that big ass free ride jump and you can't see the landing, and then all of a sudden you just grease it, dog. It's so fun when you do that. But I mean, there's just countless amounts of hours you can put into this shit. Like, if you could say if Reflex didn't have all the free ride tracks that it has, and how good they were, and extensive and different biomed, and all the waypoint stuff it had, and all the Omnicross tracks that also use the free ride track areas and stuff, if it didn't have all that, it wouldn't even have been the game that it was. Like, straight up, no way. No way would Reflex. Did I do it again? I think I did. You know, you can make the argument that Reflex wouldn't be the game that it is. So, I'm telling you, it makes a bigger difference than you would think having multiple free... I know it sounds like such a simple thing. You know, it sounds like, what's the big deal, Spencer? Going from 1 to 3 different free ride tracks in a new motocross game. But I'm telling you, oh my God, it makes it a whole nother level of content experience. We did about a 28 jump into the terraces here. Don't worry. Big Dog, Big Daddy,